So what else do these elites believe? Well, they really do believe that they're going to be able to live forever. And technology has really gotten better. Right here, scientists find path to fountain of youth. The fountain of youth may exist after all, as a study showed that scientists have discovered a means to extend the lifespan of mice and primates. The key to eternal, or at least prolonged youth, lies in genetic manipulation that mimics the health benefits of reducing calorie intake, suggesting that aging and age-related diseases can be treated. And they've been able to de-age mice and other small animals publicly. That's part of the public record. That's not what they're doing on a black site underground. God knows how far technologically these people really are with nanotech and other devices. Let's talk a little bit of reality. Okay? Until about 5 months ago, the public was led to believe that stealth technology was developed by the United States through skunk works in the 70s. Not true. The Nazis had a stealth aircraft. There's a huge History Channel piece on it. Think of it. It actually might have been on National Geographic. I'm not quite sure. But just type in Nazi stealth aircraft. And they were able, dozens if not hundreds of people must have been working on this thing. But through compartmentalization, it never got out. It took 70 plus years for the public to find out that the Nazis had a stealth aircraft. That's the reality. Our technology is 20 or 30 years suppressed to what it really is and possibly beyond. I can't tell you because I'm not part of the black sites. I don't know what they're working on. I know they have chimeras. That's an open secret to the public. Jason, what's a chimera? That's a big word. Well, basically, they can take 95% of a human being, mix it with anything they want, and it's their guinea pig. It's their toy. Can you imagine being something that was created in a lab? You're pretty much human except for your skin color might be a little bit different. Or you have a little extra hair. Or you have, some other small genetic modification, and they're just testing on you all day. Makes me want to throw up. Makes me want to puke. All right, let's continue to go to your calls. Annie in New York. Annie, you're on the line.
Jason, how are you?
I'm good.
I wanted to thank you very much for your interview with Peter Dale Scott.
Oh, thank
and
you.
the discussion about the state of emergency that's been renewed every September since 2001 without congressional review.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mandated in the Act. And I think the shadow government thinks that since the Constitution has been rescinded, that gives them cover for their treasonous acts, but I don't think that's going to fly.
Well, for people that don't know, hold on, let me just stop you, Annie, because a lot of people don't think that the shadow government exists. They think it's something out of the X-Files. It's called the Continuity of Government Program. It's been around since we dropped the bomb, and it had limited powers at first. But then through the 80s, and it became revealed during Iran-Contra, they amped up the powers. And who did they amp up the powers with? People like Dick Cheney, people like George H.W. Bush while he was the vice president, who out of nowhere became the head of the CIA back in the 70s, and then all of a sudden he's the vice president under Reagan, who he ran against, and Reagan didn't like for 8 years, and then he becomes the president for 4 more. And during this time, they just kept expanding their national security powers and adding on to the Continuity of Government Program. And what we're talking about here is them admittedly putting the Continuity of Government Program into play on 9/11. But they also had a drill that morning called Global Guardian, where the command centers for this government, the Doomsday planes or E-4Bs, had already been launched. They were in the air. And then magically, Annie, they're on the sites of the terror attacks. They're filmed in Washington, D.C. right after the Pentagon gets struck. There's another white plane that sure looks like an E-4B to me in New York. I mean, it's complete insanity. Continue.
Well, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I used to work for FEMA, and it's called COG, Continuity of Government, and things that we thought would be continuation of response and recovery that we worked on them were actually a scheme for, a terminus, an endpoint. But what I'm really calling about, is MedImmune, the manufacturer of FluMist. That's that new intranasal vaccine. Mm-hmm. They've been given front door access to Walmart, and they've teamed up with Walmart, and they're going to be giving the FluMist in the store, which will make all the shoppers, potentially vulnerable to direct and indirect exposure, since FluMist has live attenuated virus. And the LA Times reported that the first swine flu preparation out of the hopper is going to be that FluMist spray, mm-hmm. and that health workers like those here in New York will be given it right away. The package insert from previous versions of FluMist states anyone who gets the vaccination should avoid contact with persons who've had compromised immune systems for 3 weeks, 21 days because of the shedding. So who do healthcare workers deal with all the time, Jason?
They deal with the sick.
Hospitals.
Yeah.
Right. I love you, Jason. God bless you and Alex, and have a good night.
Well, thank you so much, Annie. What a great caller. Let's jump to Scott in Illinois. Scott, you're on the line.
Hey, Jason. Good evening.
Good evening.
I wrote a story to you guys on my local sheriff here in Sangamon County. He's now violating my right to petition my elected official. He said if I drop off a letter to him again, that he will have me arrested for being a nuisance.
Oh, you're a harassment if you actually stand up for your rights and try to get involved in local government, Scott.
Yep. And all I do is I drop the letter off to the records department and walk right back out of the building. I don't even see the sheriff ever.
You need to arm yourself with a camera, man. One of those small ones. I don't know what your budget is, but Rob Jacobson just picked up one of those new iPod Nanos, and the camera on it is like you can't even see the hole. The thing is just a little bit thicker than a credit card, and if you stick it in your wallet and you stick it in your pocket and you hit record, it is some of the best video I've ever seen shot on a small camera. It's like high-def quality, and these people wouldn't even know that they're being filmed. You got to pick up something like that, because the only way that we stop these people from getting away with this stuff is to record it in video. That's why I tell people we need to become the media, and we need to use these tools against them. Technology is a double-edged sword. I've heard some people call me a technophobe. I am definitely not a technophobe, but I can see how it can be used against us and for us. And while we still have the right to carry a cell phone with a camera, or to have a camcorder with us, or to have a pocket cam such as this iPod Nano, we need to use that right, because once we document that information and we put it on YouTube, it's irrefutable. It causes a public uproar. You never know what's going to take off into the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and then millions of views. And really, we have to convict these people in the court of public opinion if we ever think we're going to stop them. And that's why, that's why this operation here at InfoWars is so important. I thank you for the call, Scott. Let me explain something to people. How are we ever going to have a fighting chance if we can't be the news, if we can't be the media, if we don't have the people's best interests at heart? And that's why I think it's great that we have expanded, mainly due to our last money bomb, into the office next door. We had Peter Dale Scott in here, and he was looking around. He's like, wow, this is great. And I'm like, Peter, you have no idea what it looked like a little over a year ago when we were in this small shack that was connected to a convenience store. Half the staff, I'd say about 1/5 the space. And now we've been able to buy this. If you go online, you can go and check out how it was completely gutted. And now we have construction workers over there working on the new studio. I can't give you a time frame, because really it's up to the construction people how quick they're able to establish that. But we're trying to take it up a notch. We're trying to have a weekend television show, a wrap-up news program. We need our own media agencies, and we need citizens to become the media and really have less fear. If you live in fear, if you don't think you can make a difference, you won't. You'll be scared, and you'll sit there and suck your thumb and just let life pass you by. But that's not me. That's not how I was raised. I was raised to stand up for myself. I was raised to speak out. I was raised to do the morally right thing when I recognized it. I'm not perfect. I do bad things too. I can be lazy. I get caught up in sports as well sometimes. Right now, I'm missing American Dad and The Cleveland Show and Family Guy and The Simpsons, things I really love. I really do love those things. Still, I think they're some of the smartest things that are on television, even though to a large extent some of them are pretty, dumbed down and really do go for the lowest common denominator. But I'm missing them because this is more important. This show reaches thousands of people, and then tens of thousands of people, and then those tens of thousands of people try to wake up their friends and family. And I'm always telling people, try to find some common ground with somebody first, and then use that common ground to expand on the information. Let me give you an example. I was in a bar the other night, and somebody picked up on this conversation that me and Michael McWhirter, who does graphics for a lot of the movies out here, he's been working on films with Alex since Terror Storm. Me and McWhirter are sitting there having a beer, and I was talking about how I had to be in studio to be on air, and the guy next to me, he said, oh, on air, what do you do? And I just looked at him and I said, you ever heard of Alex Jones? And he's like, oh, I know who Alex Jones is. And I'm like, yeah, well, I substitute host for Alex Jones and I have my own program. And he's like, well, are you a libertarian? And I said, well, I wouldn't even label myself as a libertarian. I just don't buy into the crap of both parties. And I'm a constitutionalist and somebody who's for the Bill of Rights. So this guy's, well, I just recently joined the Libertarian Party and Jimmy Vaughn is a part of it here and it does some really good things. And we started getting into a conversation and he wasn't particularly religious. And he was saying to me at one point, he said, man, what I really can't stand is when those Christians get up here and they preach this and that. And I said, whoa. All right, let's stop. Let's pull it back. We just agreed on some things here. But I said, you probably think that George Bush is a Christian. He's like, yeah, of course. And I said, sir, he's not a Christian at all. And I explained to him about the Bohemian Grove Club.